we're talking about master toy licenses, so let's just get into the meat of everything, and we'll kind of segue into the next one. So you were at New York Toy Fair, like you said, and obviously some big news broke, from your former stomping grounds, namely that Saban and Bandai were going to have themselves a little bit of a divorce. No longer going to be the master toy licensee after 25 years. I wasn't at Toy Fair. I could have gone, but it's such a long thing to do, and we only go for one day when we go there. Being on the show floor, obviously, and you have a lot of colleagues in the industry, the fans obviously are well aware of everything. But what kind of reactions did you see or did you hear from your colleagues kind of in the industry? Because it's not every day that two companies part ways after 25 years.
Yeah, I think whether you heard grumblings or murmurings about it, at a couple of the other previous shows where we all get together, truth is people were kind of speculating out loud as far back as Hong Kong Toy Fair, which I say as far back. It was only about 6 weeks before New York Toy Fair. But as fast as this kind of announcement ramped up to the outside world, it was like weeks of kind of unfolding drama. And do I believe what this person's whispering in my ear? Or when someone asked me about it, like, what are they trying to get out of me? Cause people would always say, oh, you must know, right? You must know what's going on over there. I'm like, well, I don't work there anymore. But Lord knows I've been getting an earful from a lot of people. And the grumbling started happening there. They got a little bit louder at Nuremberg Toy Fair, and then there were conflicting points of view or thoughts of what could be going on between Nuremberg and London because they were showing in one and not the other. There was a feeling in the air that something was up. And, nobody really had any sense, nobody in the bigger picture had any sense of any kind of acrimony between the two companies. And to your point, yeah, everyone kind of honestly thought of Bandai and Saban when they thought of Power Rangers. Yeah. So there's definitely a palpable level of like, whoa, at the show among everyone's booths. Anyone that, all the old timers that were there before Power Rangers and worked those big years when they were there, they were shocked because to them, they're like, well, gosh, we figured Bandai owned the brand or partially owned the brand. Like, how does that happen? And then to people who grew up since then were like, I've never not known Power Rangers to be Bandai. This is weird. Which is echoed a lot of the fan sentiment too. So you can take some of those core common sentiments and apply them across the board. Like there were people that work in the toy business that felt that same sense of whoa.
Yeah, it was, and I look back. Because, I mean, you know me, I'm very perceptive and I pick up on things real quick, sometimes too good for my own liking, personally. But I remember talking to you about and this is just my own opinion, just how disappointing San Diego was last year for Bandai. And the presentation they had and how they didn't really showcase any new product that we didn't already know about. And then that kind of followed somewhat at New York Comic Con as well in October. And yeah, I mean, it was just, I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, like, did I miss a couple signs early on? Like, could my frustration have been regarding the fact that could this have been something that happened as far back as San Diego last year?
Well, to either ease your mind or to give you a different point of view on it, what my take on that is, it wasn't necessarily any kind of tea leaves that you should have been reading or feeling. If anything, those efforts, and you can score effort on a level of 1 to 10 any way you want when I say the word efforts, were very reflective of who took over the brand in general over the last 2 years, right? Yeah. So before I left, there was a changing of the guard at Saban. And then obviously, upon my departure, there was a changing of the guard at Bandai. And so what you were seeing there was, again, whether it was right or wrong, whether it was for better or for worse, you were seeing a shift in priorities. You see it a lot in any kind of company or corporation. When new people come in, let's say television and film, right? Mm-hmm. There are projects that are greenlit. There are projects in various stages of pre-development. There are even projects that were shot and are in editing phase, or in the can waiting for a marketing plan. And if a new exec comes in and wants to kind of like, mark their scent all over the next 1 to 3 years worth of slate and projects, or disavow themselves of the stink of other people's projects and create fall guys, all kinds of things can go to hell, get changed, get chopped, get removed. I had two, when I was at MTV, I had 2 pilots mm-hmm. that were optioned to actually be made into shows. And one of the reasons I got out of television was I couldn't take that roller coaster anymore with little kids to feed. And both of them absolutely were part of changes in management where I was told up to a certain point, oh yeah, this is exactly what we need as far as a new show and content on this network. And when someone comes in and goes, yeah, okay, kill that, hold that, reevaluate that, expedite that. In both cases, I was the victim of that, which for all of us in some sense, if you like what I do for a living and I've brought smiles to your face with product, and for myself certainly, it's actually a good thing because it's what got me into toys.
Yeah.
It got me the hell out of television. But so what you were seeing there was probably more endemic of that. Of there was a new sheriff in town working for Mr. Saban on that side, and there was a new sheriff in town and new people who were really old people that got shuffled around who didn't live with, breathe, eat, and shit Power Rangers the way that we did.
Yeah.
We're now in charge of your consumer-facing efforts that you just talked about. So I don't think it was anything necessarily like they were starting to pull back. Partly what maybe spoiled it a little bit is, they were showing stuff that you knew was coming, but that was mostly because, A, I shared as much with you guys as I possibly could before I left, and B, because you didn't have any kind of product visionaries or marketing visionaries diving into the brand the way that you guys were used to having the previous 3 years, they didn't really at all detract or veer off course from the 3-year plan I basically laid in their laps with a bow on it before I left. And I didn't do it with any kind of like fanfare or lack of humility. And I didn't try to tell them that this is the way you need to do it and it was my way or the highway. I humbly said to them, if you guys want to keep these fires burning with these fans who love this legacy product, it would do you well to at least consider this 3-year plan that I worked hard to put together, thinking I was going to be here to help execute against it. Because a lot of this represents what the fans were asking for. A lot of it represents ways to ease the burden of hitting the pocketbook and the wallet hard, like a lot of companies do when they've got a hot lead on something. The worst thing you can do with legacy is put out so much good stuff all at once at high price points that you end up exhausting and potentially bankrupting your quote-unquote consumer. I call them fans, but technically they're called consumers, right?
Yeah.
And so the worst thing you can do is swing the pendulum in the wrong direction and try to crush them with all these great options all at once. I tried to create marketing beats. I tried to create a timing and a cadence that everything that you guys were asking for could at least be considered, if not actually greenlit to development and eventual production. So the lean into Zeo, which I know made you, personally happy.
Oh, yeah.
Was the next logical marketing step after luxuriating in Mighty Morphin for so long. That was coming to fruition. And I think, up to the Zeo staff and up to the Zeonizers, that was all in play. What I didn't know for sure was whether or not what they were going to do with the Megazords, knowing that was something they were going to be awfully scared about. Do they really round out all the final Mighty Morphin Zords and Megazords? Are they going to use the role play and legacy figures lean to Zeo to kind of just start anew and do all that? Can they somehow all live together while you slowly but surely check all the boxes of all the important Mighty Morphin releases you guys are asking for, and we're still imminent? Are we going to get a tour? That was a constant question. Are we going to get, Bulk and Skull? Are we going to get, villain figures? That was all on the table for them to consider because it was gratifying to scratch the itch for Bandai Japan and Bandai to be like, Mighty Morphin is your biggest series. It was your three-year run that ultimately became, an entire generation's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And why would you not want to maximize that? Now, how do you do that in a way that doesn't piss everybody off by just not doing Jason stuff and not just doing the original Megazord but in a different color? And that was always the nuance and care that I tried to put into a plan that would help with that. And, either to their credit or to their lack of vision, they stuck to that. So that's why you weren't feeling like you were seeing anything new last year. Or they just simply weren't delivering against like their timelines that give you models of stuff you were hoping that would come out and sooner. And then I throw another wrinkle in there too. Again, at that point I didn't know. You also didn't know necessarily what Saban wanted them to lean in hard and announce, or if they wanted to be hold back and have a better, different marketing cadence that would serve, their brand development needs too.
Yeah.
So if anything, if I can make you feel better about your usual very sharp eye and quick mind, I don't think you were missing much with those. I think it literally was just, the powers that be at Bandai is like, we're going to make this different because we're the new ones in charge, and everyone was doing before was old. Yeah, okay, whatever. And you also had, new people at Spawn going, what are our focuses going to be here, and how do we help Bandai or make Bandai help live those out?